Hello students. So yesterday we were talking about that of the grassland habitat or forest habitat. Grassland habitat is that habitat in which large area of the land is covered with the grasses. While the forest habitat is that habitat in which the large area of the land is covered with the trees. So herbivore animals or that of the carnivores animal like that of the lion or a deer, they show such kind of a habitat. Or we can say that they adjust themselves, they adapt themselves so that they can live in this habitat. Later on we studied about the aquatic habitat. So aquatic habitat is a habitat in which the living organism, they adapt themselves so that they can live in water. Water is also of two types. One, that of the ponds or lake, which we consider them as a fresh water, while that of the sea or the ocean is called as a marine water because it consisting of a salt in it. So the aquatic plant, they adapt themselves to live in the fresh water. Now according to that, there are three types of a plant also. One which float on the surface of the water. The another one which is partially submerged. It means half portion of the plant is inside the water while that of the leaves and the flower, it float on the surface of the water. And there is another type of a plant which is fully submerged in the water like that of the water hyacinth. If we talk about that of the aquatic animals, so you know that they are having some characteristic like streamline shaped body or the gills which help them to survive in water. Although whale and that of the dolphin, they take air from the blowhole. Okay, now today we will continue with the chapter. So now we will discuss about that of the adaptation in the aquatic plant. Okay, so aquatic plant, if you see the features or the adaptation that is in that of the aquatic plant, the first thing that aquatic plant are having very short and small roots. Okay, and whose main function is to hold the plant in place. So they are having short and small roots, and all the parts of the aquatic plant, they are surrounded by the water. So an aquatic plant can absorb water and dissolve mineral directly from the surface of their stem, branches and the leaves. Since the aquatic plant do not have to depend on their root to obtain water and dissolve mineral, their roots are very short and small. So aquatic plant, they are having a short and a small roots, and it is because student, the function of the root is to absorb water and mineral deep inside from the soil. Okay, so that inside the soil or in the soil water is present, and that water is absorbed by that of the root hair, and root will supply the water and mineral to the plant for the preparation of food. But here in aquatic plant, the plants are already surrounded by the water and dissolve minerals in it. So there is no need of the root to absorb the water or to take the water so that it reaches to the branches or the leaves, but the surface of the stem or the branches and the leaves, they directly take the water, and due to which the function of the root become less. And for that purpose, you see the roots, they are short and small. So the function of the roots in case of the aquatic plant is not to absorb the water, but its main function is to hold the plant in place. Roots are there to hold it, to make it fixed in a place. Now if we see the second feature of that of the aquatic plant, that the stem of the aquatic plant, it is soft, hollow and light. And since it is hollow, so it is having a large spaces which is filled with air, and that is why they are light. So they are soft, they are hollow and light, and this light, it is because of the air present in it. Air is filled inside it. It is there and covered a lot of spaces in that of the aquatic plant. So you see that why the aquatic plant, it is not strong as the other plant. So the aquatic plant, they do not need strong stem. It is because they are surrounded by the water of the pond, lake or the river, which keeps them up. Okay, so water is already there to support them, to make it to stand erect, and that's why you can say that the plant is soft and hollow as well as light. Next one is that of the submerged aquatic plant. So we studied yesterday, student, that there are three types of aquatic plant. One which floats on the surface of the aquatic region on the water body. Second, in which the half of the portion is in the water and half of the portion float on the surface. And the third one which is fully submerged in the water. So the submerged aquatic plant, they have a narrow and a thin ribbon-like leaves, which bend in the flowing water of the river and stream, and hence it do not obstruct the flow of the water. Okay, so since they are having ribbon-like leaves, they are having narrow leaves, so they bend in that of the flowing water. You see that in some of the plant, the leaves are highly divided, and it is because that water, it can easily flow through them without damaging them. So the plant's leaves are like that, that if the flow of the water is there, if the water is having speed or it is moving, the leaves will not obstruct the flow of the water. Why? If that leaf is not able to bend, then it will get uprooted. The plant will get uprooted. The leaves will also flow with that of the water. So you see, it is because of its flexibility, it can survive in the water very easily. So the leaves are like that it bend in the flowing water. As well as there are some of the leaves which are highly divided, so that the water, it can flow easily through them without damaging the plant. Now the thin leaves of the submerged plant, they also allow the mineral to pass through them easily. And the floating leaves of a partially submerged plant, they are quite broad but flexible. So we can say that the leaves of the floating plant, they are very flexible, they can bend easily, and they do not obstruct the flow of the water as well as of the mineral to pass through it. Although the leaves of the floating plant, they are similar to that of the land plant. But the only difference is that here the leaves, they are ribbon-like, they are narrow, and they bend easily. Sometimes they are divided so that the flow of the water can take place. The stem, they are soft, but you have seen the terrestrial plant, they are having a strong stem, which provide strength and support to the plant. But the stem of the aquatic plant, they are soft, they are hollow and light, as well as it is having air, filled in air spaces in it, which make it light and make it easier to flow on the water surface. Okay, one more thing is there, that is roots. The roots are small. It is because that root does not have to absorb the water and mineral deep inside that of the soil like happen in that of the terrestrial, but here in aquatic plant, its main function is to hold plant in place. So these are some of the features or some of the adaptation in aquatic plant. Now we talk about the animals who live on the land, that we said that they belong to a terrestrial habitat, or they shows the terrestrial habitat. And there are some living organism who lives in that of the water. Okay, so they are having the aquatic habitat. Now there are some animals which adapted themselves so that they can live in water as well as on the land. Now we will talk about the animals which live in the water and on land. So you see student, the animals which live in the water and on land, we use a term, and that is a frog. That is a amphibians, sorry, that is known as a amphibians. Okay, so amphibians are the animals which can live on both the habitat, which shows both the habitat, that is the terrestrial and the aquatic habitat. So we will talk about that of the frog, because you know frog, it is an amphibian and it lives on both the habitat. It shows both the habitat. So frog, the animal like that of the frog, it is having it lives in that of the pond as well as in that of the land. You see, the frogs, they are found in shady, in damp conditions near the pond, and the frog spent most of the time on the land, but it come back to the water to lay their eggs. So we can say that it can live inside the water as well as on the land, but most of the time it is spent its time on the land, but when the time came to lay their eggs, so it come back to the water. And that is why these frogs are mainly found near the pond. Okay, so that it can live inside the water as well as it can lay their eggs in that of the water, as well as it can live on that of the land. Okay, so it shows both the habitat, aquatic and the terrestrial. Now how frogs, they are adapted to live life in water as well as on the land. So frogs, they are having webbed feet. Okay, and this webbed feet which help them to swim in the water. I think you are knowing webbed feet, student. Webbed feet, it means the web like a structure. Feet is having a web like a structure, or we can say that these feet, there is a formation of a thin skin between the toes and that of the other fingers. Okay, so we can say that there is a formation of a thin skin between toes, and it works like a paddle for swimming. So basically the function of the webbed feet, that it help it to swim in water, and this adaptation make it help it to live in water. So first thing, that it is having the webbed feet which help it to swim in water, as well as frogs are having a strong back leg for jumping and catching their prey, and this adaptation helps the frog to live life on land. So there are two adaptation which is shown by that of the frog. The first thing, it is having the webbed back feet which help it to swim in water, and the second one, that these frogs have a strong back legs for hopping. Hopping, it means jumping and catching their prey. So this adaptation helps the frog to live life on the land. So this is the adaptation of the animal who can live in the water on the land. Now we will talk the last topic, and that is acclimatization. So acclimatization is very much similar to that of the adaptation, but there is some difference in that of the adaptation and acclimatization. So you see student, adaptation is a what? It is a change which an organism do so that it can survive in its environment, in its habitat. Now, adaptation are a very slow changes which take place in the body of organism, and these changes take over 1,000 of a year. Okay, so these changes does not occur rapidly, but it takes time. Okay, so this is a long process which takes over 1,000 of a year to show changes in the body of a organism. But there are some changes which can occur in the organisms over a short period of a time to help them to adjust to some sudden changes in their environment. So there is one change which takes a long process which occur over 1,000 of a year, but sometimes some changes are there which occur in the organism which help it to adjust according to their environment in a very short period of a time. For example, if we live in the plains and suddenly go to a high mountain region, okay, so we may experience difficulty in breathing for a few days. This is because the air is very thin at the high altitude on the mountain, and due to which we have to breathe faster. So as to obtain sufficient oxygen, our breathing rate increases. Okay, so when you move from one place to another, when you move from the plain to a higher altitude, then there is a problem, there is a difficulty in breathing. After some days, even then also you will see that small changes occur in our body, and due to which our body adjusts to the new environment of the thin air on mountain. So here what you have seen that if we are moving from a plain to that of a higher altitude, the air is very thin, low, so there is a difficulty in breathing. So you will face a problem in breathing. Your rate or breathing rate will be faster. But some days after living in that of the higher altitude, you will find that there is some adjustment occur in your body according to that the new environment, and due to which you are able to survive there. So we can say that our body has got used to that of the mountain environment. Okay, so our body take times, but it adjusted itself, it got used to that environment, to the mountain environment. Or we can also say like that our body has acclimatized to the mountain environment. So by this we can define acclimatization, that is the process of becoming accustomed to a different environment, such as a higher altitude of a mountain over a short period of a time, is called acclimatization. Okay, so we can define acclimatization is changes which occur in our body over a short period of a time, or we can say the process of becoming or making body adjusted according to that environment, according to the different environment over a short period of a time. We called it a acclimatization. Now the changes which take place in the body of an organism during this process, these are temporary and it can be. On the other hand, if you see that of the adaptation, so the changes which occur in the bodies of the organism over 1,000 of a year, that is adaptation, and such changes are permanent and cannot be reversed. So one changes occur in case of that of the acclimatization, that is that changes occur for a short period of a time. Okay, and these changes are temporary and it can be reversed. But when we talk about that of the adaptation, that changes is a slow change. It takes over 1,000 of a year to show the changes in the body of organisms, but these changes are permanent and cannot be reversed. So this is that of the acclimatization. Now we will talk the question answers of the chapter. So we'll discuss the question answers. Now first one is, what is habitat? So habitat is what? The surrounding where animals live is called their habitat. You know, student, that the animal, they adjusted themselves, they adapted themselves so that they can survive in a region, and that we called it their habitat. The organism, they depend on their habitat for their food, water, air, shelter, and that of the other need. Habitat, it means a dwelling place. So we can define habitat that it is the surrounding where animals live, and the organisms, they depend on their habitat for their food, water, air, and that of the shelter and other need. This defines the habitat of an organisms. Next one is, how are the cactus adapted to live in the desert? Now cactus, the condition of that of the desert area is hot and dry. So cactus, they are having the features which make it to survive in that of the hot and dry climate. And you know that if temperature is very low, rainfall is less, that's why there is always a shortage of the water. So the plant, they have to survive in such a way so that it reduces the loss of water. So the first adaptation which is shown by that of the cactus is that it does not have a leaves or a spiny leaves. So we can say that the leaves are not present in it, or the leaves get modified into the thorns. So you know, student, that leaves, it help in the exchange of the gases as well as transpiration process, that is the loss of the water. Excess amount of the water, if it is present in the plant, it get evaporated from the stomata pores which is present on the leaves, and this whole process is known as transpiration. So leaves, it help in the process of transpiration. So more transpiration will occur, then there will be more loss of water. So there is no leaves, or the leaves get modified into thorns. So if the leaves are small, or if leaves will be not there, then there will be no chances of the loss of water through the process of transpiration. So leaves, the spiny leaves is there, or the thorns are there, and so absence of the leaf prevent water loss through transpiration. Second one, stem. So stem is modified in such a way, you see the green stem is present in that of the cactus, it is green in color. So stem is modified that it performs the process of photosynthesis as well as it conserves water. So the function of a stem in the cactus, that it conserves water and it performs photosynthesis. Next one is the root. So the root of the cactus, it go very deep into the soil for absorbing water, because the amount of water is less. So the roots have to go deeper inside the soil in search of the water. So these are the different features which is adapted by that of the cactus so that it can survive in the plant. Now the next one is the fill in the blank. Now the presence of a specific feature which enable a plant or an animal to live in a particular habitat is called. So a special feature or a specific feature which make a plant or the animal to live in a particular habitat is called as adaptation. You know that adaptation is a process in which an organism adjusts themselves so that they can live in their particular habitat. So adaptation will be the answer. Next one is the habitat of the plants and the animal that live on land. You know, student, that there are two different type of a habitat. One is terrestrial, the another one is aquatic. So the animals or that the living organism which live on the land, whether it is a forest or grassland, mountain or the desert, all comes in the one habitat, that is terrestrial habitat. Okay, so we will say the habitat of the plant and animal that live on land are called terrestrial habitat. So the second answer will be terrestrial. Then see the third question. The habitat of the plant and animal that live in water. So live in water is known as aquatic habitat. So animals and plants that live in water is called aquatic habitat. Next one is the soil and water. Water and air are the dash factor of the habitat. So what is this? We have studied when we were starting with that of the habitat or that of the adaptation. So we came to know the two components. The two components, two factors of a habitat is a biotic and abiotic. Biotic, student, it means which includes that of the living organism, including the plants and the animals. But in case of the abiotic, it includes the soil, water and air. And the interaction between the biotic and abiotic factor is important. So soil, water, air, these all are the abiotic factors. So here it is abiotic. Now changes in our surrounding that make us respond to them are called. So you know that the stimuli is what? That any change which occur in our surrounding, when we respond to them, that we called it a stimuli. Okay, so the change which occur in our surrounding to which we respond is called stimuli. Now we will see the next question. That is, which of the following in the list are non-living? So you see, student, the non-living, they are having the characteristic which a living thing possesses, which living thing does not have. Okay, so non-living thing is what? Which cannot respire, which cannot move by its own, which cannot grow, which cannot reproduce, which cannot respond to that of the stimuli. So what are the different things which is a non-living living thing? So we will see that those who follow the characteristic of a non-living thing, that is we will call it a non-living things. Plug, you know that the plug is what? It is a non-living thing. It cannot respire, cannot grow. Mushrooms, it's a living thing. Sewing machine, it's a non-living thing. Radio, boat, these both are the non-living thing. We use it for different purpose. It does not grow or reproduce like that of the living thing. Water hyacinth, it is an aquatic plant. Okay, so we called it a living organism. Okay, earthworm, it is also a living organism. So you see, mushroom, that of the water hyacinth, and the earthworm, these all are the living, while the plug or this sewing machine, radio, boat, these all do not have the characteristic of the living thing. So we will consider them as a non-living thing. Now the next one is, give an example of a non-living thing which show any two characteristic of a living thing. So generally we talk that the non-living thing do not show the properties of the living thing. But here we have to write the one non-living thing which shows the characteristic of living thing. So you see student, when we were discussing about the living thing and non-living thing, then I explained to you people that cloud is what? It is a non-living thing, but it shows the two characteristic of a living things, that it grows in size and it shows movement. So the first characteristic which is shown by the non-living thing cloud, that is it grows in size. So living thing they grow in size, non-living thing they do not, but cloud is that non-living thing which grow in size. Although the growth which occur in the living thing is different from that of the growth which occur in that of the cloud. There the water droplets combine together. Here the growth is due to the cell division in that of the living thing. Although it grow in size, but the process is totally different in both of them, and that is why we consider cloud as a non-living thing. The second characteristic which is shown by the cloud, that is it show movement. So you know student that basically living things they can move by its own without any external force, and the non-living thing they cannot move until and unless we provide an external force on it. But the clouds you see they show movement. Again here also the reason is different between both the reason is different between both of them. So cloud is a non-living thing, but even then also it shows some two characteristic of the living thing. Although the reason is not valid, it is not the same as in case of a living thing. Now see here, which of the following non-living things listed below were once a part of a living thing? Butter, leather, soil, wool, electric bulb, cooking oil, salt, apple and rubber. Here what we have to write student, that we have to find out the non-living thing which was a part of the living thing. We can say that we obtain from that of the living organisms. So you see the first one is the butter. Butter we obtain from that of the cow or buffalo. It we obtain from the milk, and milk is obtained by that of the grazing animals. Okay, so butter is obtained by the milk which is the part of a living organism. So butter either it is a non-living thing, but once it was a part of a living thing. So first one is the butter. Second one is the leather. So you see student, leather is also once a part of a living thing, because we obtain leather from the skin of the living organism. So that is skin from where we obtain leather was once a part of a living organism. So leather is also the same. Soil, no, soil is a abiotic component. It is a non-living thing. So soil, no, soil is not. Then wool. You know that wool we obtain from the fur of the living organism, from sheep, from goat. Okay, so sheep or that of the goat, both of them are the living organism. So the wool is also once a part of a living thing. So wool is also that non-living thing which were the part of a living thing. Electric bulb, no, electric bulb, you know that electric bulb is a non-living thing. Cooking oil, yes, cooking oil we obtain either from that of the mustard seed or sunflower seed. So these all seeds were part of that of the plant. So cooking oil we also obtain from the plant. So it is also a non-living thing which was once a part of a living thing. Salt, it is salt is not a living thing, because we obtain salt from that of the marine water, from the sea, from the ocean, and you know that is a non-living thing. So salt is not a living thing, not a part of a living thing. Apple, you know apple is a fruit. So apple is obtained from the plant, and plant is a living thing. So apple is also a part of the living thing. Next one is the rubber. So rubber also we obtain from the plant only. So rubber is also a non-living thing which were once part of a living thing. So these are the things which we obtain in that of the from that of the plant. List some characteristics of the living thing. So there are a lot of common characteristics, including that living organism can grow, can move, reproduction, respiration, response to the stimuli, and excretion. These are the characteristics which is shown by that of the living organism. Last is explain why speed is important for survival in the grassland for animals that live there. So in grassland habitat, student, you see there are few trees or places for the animals to hide. So when their enemy attack, they have to run faster so as to reach a safe place. And if they fail, they lose their life. So the speed is a very important for the survival of a grassland animal so that it will protect itself from that of enemies, from the attack of the enemies. So these are the question answer of the chapter 19.